You're about to hear a story that sounds almost unbelievable. Something ripped straight out of a movie. A quiet suburban street. A warm Saturday afternoon. Families barbecuing. Kids riding bikes. And then, out of nowhere, two men dressed like police storm a black family's front yard, shouting orders they have no right to give. Within minutes, a woman is struck in the face, punched, by one of the so-called officers. What these men didn't know was that her husband, calm, polite, but dangerous when provoked, was a Navy SEAL on leave, and that he was about to show them exactly what real authority looks like. The smell of grilled corn and ribs hung in the air. It was late spring in Oak Ridge, a wealthy but aging neighborhood lined with elm trees and neatly trimmed hedges. The sun was still high, glinting off the chrome of parked cars and the shiny bikes kids had left in driveways. Birds chirped in a lazy rhythm, broken only by the occasional buzz of a mower or the thud of a basketball against a driveway. It was the kind of Saturday where nothing should have gone wrong. Angela and Marcus Carter were standing on their front lawn, stringing up paper lanterns for their daughter's birthday party. They'd moved to Oak Ridge a year earlier, renting while they saved to buy. Marcus, 35, tall, shoulders like a linebacker, had grown up in Detroit, the oldest of four, a man who'd seen enough in life to know how to keep his cool. Angela was a nurse, soft-spoken but fierce when it came to her family. Her smile had always been her superpower. Today, though, her eyes kept darting to the street. "Babe," she murmured, pulling the lantern cord tight. "You notice those guys walking around? The ones with the badges?" Marcus squinted. Down the block, two white men in navy blue polo shirts and tactical boots were walking from yard to yard, clipboards in hand. Big block letters, "Neighborhood Compliance," were printed on their backs. Their belts held what looked like radios, but also handcuffs? "Yeah," Marcus said. "They've been at it for an hour, haven't seen them before." "They knocked on Mrs. Benson's door earlier," Angela said. She looked nervous. The Carters had been warned about the HOA. Oak Ridge Neighborhood Association was infamous for its aggressive letters about weeds or trash cans. But this was new. Private security? Badges? Marcus had seen a lot during his deployments overseas. But even here, in a sleepy American suburb, something about these men pinged his instincts. As if on cue, the two men changed direction and started up the Carter's driveway. One was heavyset, mid-40s, with a shaved head and wraparound sunglasses. The other, younger, carried himself with the stiff posture of someone playing a role. Neither smiled. "Afternoon," the heavyset one barked. "We're with Oak Ridge Enforcement. You're in violation of Section 5 of the HOA Code. Temporary structures on front lawns without prior approval." Marcus glanced at the paper lanterns, then back at them. "Excuse me? This is for my daughter's birthday. It's just for a few hours. Doesn't matter." The younger one snapped. "Take them down or face a fine." Angela wiped her hands on her jeans. "Wait a minute. Since when does the HOA send cops?" "Ma'am," the heavyset man said, tilting his badge just enough to flash the metal. "We are authorized to enforce community standards. Please comply." Marcus stepped closer, his voice even. "That badge says Neighborhood Compliance. That's not law enforcement. Who exactly are you?" The man smirked. "We're contracted by Oak Ridge. That's all you need to know." Angela felt a chill despite the warm air. The men's eyes weren't on the decorations anymore. They were on her. Marcus noticed it too. He'd seen the look before. Overseas, in places where men with weapons thought they could do whatever they wanted. He moved his body between them and his wife. "Look," he said, "I'm not looking for trouble. We'll be done in an hour. You can tell the HOA whatever you need to." The younger man's jaw flexed. "That's not how this works. When we say take it down, you take it down." Angela's hands trembled, but she held her ground. "This is harassment," she said quietly. "You can't just..." And then it happened. The heavyset man took a single step forward and shoved Marcus with his chest. Marcus didn't move. The man's face flushed. "You think you're tough?" he sneered. Angela gasped. "Stop it. You're not police." She reached for her phone. The younger man grabbed her wrist. "Ma'am, put the phone down." Marcus's eyes went cold. "Let go of my wife," he said, his voice dropping into a register Angela had heard only once before, when he described a mission gone wrong in Afghanistan. The heavy-set man shoved Marcus again. "You're obstructing an officer. You're no officer," Marcus said. Angela tried to twist free. The younger man yanked harder. She stumbled, and his fist lashed out. The sound of the punch cracked across the yard like a gunshot. Angela's head snapped to the side, her phone clattering onto the grass. For a heartbeat, everything froze. The birds, the breeze, even the kids down the street stopped shouting. Marcus saw red, not just in his mind, but literally, the red imprint spreading across Angela's cheek. He took one slow breath. His muscles coiled. Years of training slid into place like a weapon cocking. His hands unclenched, then clenched again. "You just made a mistake," he said softly. The younger man's smirk faltered. "What?" Marcus moved. It wasn't a wild swing or a shouted threat. It was a blur. 2 steps forward, an arm snapping down on the younger man's grip, a twist that made him yelp and drop Angela's wrist. She stumbled back, clutching her face. The heavy-set man lunged, but Marcus pivoted, his elbow driving into the man's sternum with a dull thud. Air whooshed out of him. Neighbors were already peeking from windows. A curtain fluttered. Someone whispered, "Call 911. Angela pressed her hand to her cheek, eyes wide. Marcus glanced at her once. "Go inside," he murmured. She hesitated, but his tone left no room for argument. The heavy-set man wheezed, doubling over. The younger one backed up, rubbing his wrist. "You're done," he hissed. "You're going to jail." Marcus's voice was calm, deadly. "Try me." Sirens wailed faintly in the distance. The smell of grilled food was now mixed with the acrid scent of adrenaline, sweat, and fear. Marcus planted himself between the men and his wife. His stance wasn't aggressive, but it was unmovable. His eyes scanned for threats, his ears tuned to every sound, the way he used to in war zones. Angela's breath hitched as she stepped inside, fumbling for the lock. Through the window she saw her husband, tall and steady, facing down 2 men who suddenly didn't look so sure of themselves. "Who are you really?" Marcus asked quietly. "Because the cops are coming, and when they do, this little act of yours is over." The younger man's lips twitched. He glanced at his partner. The heavyset man straightened, still catching his breath. "We don't have to explain anything to you." Marcus tilted his head. "Yeah, you do." The sirens were louder now. The 2 men exchanged a look. The younger one's bravado faltered. His eyes darted toward their car down the street, an unmarked black SUV with no logos. Marcus saw it too. He didn't move, didn't blink. Inside, Angela's fingers shook as she dialed 911, but she could already hear the dispatcher's voice saying help was on the way. Her cheek throbbed. Her eyes burned, not just from pain, but from rage. This was supposed to be a safe neighborhood. This was supposed to be her daughter's birthday, and now strangers had walked up and hit her, right in her own yard. She whispered under her breath, "They don't know who they're messing with." Outside, Marcus adjusted his stance. His voice was steady, almost eerily so. "Last chance," he said to the men. "Walk away before the real cops get here." The heavy-set man's face tightened. The younger one clenched his fists. The tension was a wire about to snap. And then the siren stopped. Close. Too close. Marcus's eyes flicked to the street. A police cruiser turned the corner, lights flashing. The 2 officers froze. Marcus exhaled once. "Showtime," he muttered. Blue and red lights splashed across the Carter's front yard, cutting through the soft afternoon sunlight. The cruiser rolled to a stop at the curb, engine humming, radio crackling. A young officer stepped out, mid-20s, clean-shaven, with a wary expression that said he'd been briefed on a disturbance, but had no idea what he was walking into. Marcus straightened, his hands loose at his sides. His heart was still pounding, but his breathing was steady, slow, the way he'd learned to control it under fire. The 2 fake officers shifted like cornered animals. The heavy-set one tugged his polo shirt down over his belt. The younger one kept glancing toward the black SUV parked 3 houses down. Inside the house, Angela watched through the window. One hand pressed to her cheek. The skin was swelling purple already. Her other hand held the phone to her ear. "Yes," she whispered to the dispatcher. "An officer's here now. Please send more. My husband's outside. He's a Navy SEAL. Please hurry." Outside, the young cop raised a hand. "Everyone take a breath," he said. "What's going on here?" The heavyset man recovered first. "Officer," he barked, flashing his fake badge again. "We're with Oak Ridge Neighborhood Enforcement. This man assaulted us during a lawful compliance check." Marcus almost laughed. "Lawful compliance check? You're private security, if that." He grabbed my wife. He punched her. The young cop's eyes flicked from Marcus's broad frame to the two men, then to Angela behind the window with a bruised face. He hesitated, like someone who knows the ground under him isn't solid. "Sir," he said to the heavyset man, "you're not law enforcement. Put your hands where I can see them." The younger fake officer scowled. "We're contracted. We're authorized." "Authorized to what?" Marcus cut in. "Harass families? Hit women? Pretend to be cops?" His voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The weight in it made the younger man flinch. Another cruiser rolled up behind the first, and this time a female sergeant got out, older, eyes sharp. She took one glance at the scene and her posture changed. "What's going on here?" she demanded. "Those two men assaulted my wife," Marcus said evenly. "They're impersonating officers." The sergeant's gaze snapped to the heavyset man. Badges on the ground. Now, for a moment, no one moved. Then the heavyset man slowly unclipped his badge and dropped it onto the grass. The younger one followed, jaw clenched. "Hands behind your heads," the sergeant said. Marcus felt his shoulders relax a fraction. His instincts told him the tide had turned, but years of experience also told him things could still go wrong fast. He kept his hands visible, palms out. "Sir," the young officer said to Marcus, "we'll need your statement." "You'll get it," Marcus said. "But my wife needs medical attention first." Angela opened the door and stepped outside, still clutching her cheek. The sergeant's face softened when she saw the bruise. "Ma'am, are you okay?" "No," Angela said quietly. "They hit me, he hit me." The sergeant turned back to the two men. "You're under arrest for assault and impersonating a police officer." The younger man's face went pale. "You can't." "Shut it," the sergeant snapped. The heavyset man's eyes flicked to Marcus. "You're done," he hissed under his breath. "You think this is over? It's not over." Marcus didn't respond. He just met the man's stare, calm and unblinking, until the sergeant hauled him toward the cruiser. As the cuffs clicked, memories flickered through Marcus's mind. Memories he tried to leave overseas. He remembered standing in dusty streets with insurgents disguised as soldiers. Remembered how a uniform or a badge could be a costume for something rotten underneath. And now, here, in his own yard, that same sickness had shown up wearing polo shirts. Angela's hand trembled as she touched his arm. "Marcus, I'm here," he murmured. "You're safe now." Neighbors were spilling out onto their porches, phones raised, whispering. The Carters had tried hard to fit in, to be invisible in a neighborhood where most people didn't look like them. But now everyone was staring. The sergeant called over. "Sir, ma'am, do you want to press charges?" Angela's answer was immediate. "Yes." Marcus nodded once. "Yes." "Good," the sergeant said. "We're taking them in. We'll need you at the station for formal statements. And we'll need to get your wife checked out." Angela swallowed. "Our daughter's party." Marcus glanced at the paper lanterns, swaying gently in the breeze. Half hung, half forgotten. His jaw tightened. "I'll handle it," he said. He watched as the two fake officers were shoved into the back of the cruisers. The heavyset one twisted around to glare at him through the glass. Marcus stared back, expression unreadable. When the cruisers pulled away, the yard felt strangely quiet, like the aftermath of a storm. The neighbors retreated into their houses. A child's bike toppled over in a driveway. Somewhere a dog barked, then went silent. Angela leaned against him. "Who were they?" she whispered. "Not cops," Marcus said. "Not even real security. That badge didn't look right. No number, no state seal. Nothing. They knew our names, she said. They called me Mrs. Carter. How? Marcus's gut twisted. I don't know, but we're going to find out. He led her inside, closing the door softly behind them. The smell of birthday cake and balloons felt surreal now, like a different world. Their daughter, Mia, peeked from the hallway, eyes wide. Mommy? Daddy? What happened? Angela forced a smile. Nothing you need to worry about, baby. Everything's okay. Marcus knelt and hugged his daughter tight, his mind already spinning. He'd done enough deployments to know a threat when he saw one. Those men weren't random. They'd come to their house for a reason. That night, after Mia was asleep and the guests had been called to cancel, Marcus sat at the kitchen table with his laptop. Angela sat opposite him with an ice pack on her cheek. The glow of the screen lit his face, hard and focused. He typed Oak Ridge Neighborhood Enforcement into a search bar. Nothing came up. No company website. No contract info. He tried the badge number he glimpsed. Nothing. He tried the SUV's license plate. Angela had snapped a blurry photo from the window. It came back registered to a shell company in another state. Whoever they are, Marcus said, they're hiding. Angela shivered. Why us? Marcus stared at the screen. Maybe because we're new. Maybe because we're black in a mostly white neighborhood. Maybe because they thought we wouldn't fight back. He closed the laptop. They were wrong. Angela's eyes glistened. Marcus, you scared me today. He reached across the table and took her hand. I know, but I won't let anyone hurt you. Not ever. She squeezed his fingers. What if they come back? He looked past her through the window at the quiet street outside. If they do, he said, his voice low, I'll be ready. Somewhere in the darkness beyond the hedges, an engine idled. Marcus's instincts prickled. He stood, moving silently to the front window. A black SUV, maybe the same one, maybe another, sat at the far end of the street, its headlights off, but a glow inside, like someone watching. He drew the curtain. His jaw tightened. They're not done, he said. Angela's face went pale. Marcus, he forced a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. Get some sleep, he said. I'll keep watch. That night, Marcus sat in the living room chair, the glow of a single lamp beside him, his mind replaying every detail, the men's movements, their badges, the way they'd known his name. His hands rested on his knees, relaxed but ready. He'd learned long ago how to wait. Outside, the engine finally faded into the distance. But Marcus didn't relax, because he knew, deep down, this wasn't over. This was just the opening move. Morning crept into Oak Ridge under a thin layer of fog, muting the colors of the street. Dew clung to car hoods. A sprinkler hissed somewhere, sending up a faint rainbow. Marcus sat at the kitchen table, the same position he'd held for most of the night. Mug of black coffee untouched in front of him. His eyes were sharp but tired, scanning the quiet outside through the blinds. Angela patted in, still in her robe, an ice pack pressed to her cheek. The swelling had gone down, but the bruise was darker now, an ugly reminder. She watched him silently for a moment before speaking. You didn't sleep? No, Marcus said. Didn't want to. She set the ice pack on the counter. Mia asked if her party's still happening. Marcus rubbed his forehead. We'll make it up to her, but right now. He trailed off, staring at the black SUV parked 2 houses down, different from last night. This one had tinted windows and a small dash cam visible on the windshield. Angela followed his gaze. They're watching us. Marcus nodded once. Looks like it. Why aren't the police doing anything? They're processing the arrest from yesterday. Paperwork takes time. Whoever's behind this is moving faster than the system can. Angela sat across from him. Marcus, what do they want? He exhaled. I don't know, but I know how to find out. He reached into his duffel bag, the one he'd kept packed even during civilian life, and pulled out a small notebook. Inside were neat, coded entries from his deployments. He flipped to a blank page and started sketching the SUV's position, the timing, the pattern of movement. Surveillance 101, he muttered. Angela watched his hands. You're slipping back into it. He looked up. Into what? Into the man you were overseas. He held her gaze. That man kept his team alive. A knock at the door startled them both. 3 quick raps. Marcus stood, moving silently to the peephole. A middle-aged black man stood on the porch, wearing a worn baseball cap and holding a clipboard. He looked nervous. Marcus opened the door a crack. "Can I help you?" "Name's Howard Green," the man said quickly. "I live 3 streets over. I saw what happened yesterday." "Mind if I come in?" Marcus hesitated, then opened the door. Angela stepped back, wary. Howard glanced around the kitchen once inside. "I'm not crazy," he said. "I'm not trying to sell anything, but I've been fighting these people for months." "Which people?" Marcus asked. "The so-called HOA cops. They're not real. They're a front for a security firm some of the board members hired off the books, supposed to keep standards high. But what they're really doing is targeting folks they don't like." Angela's stomach twisted. "Targeting people like us?" Howard nodded grimly. "Families of color, renters, anybody who pushes back on their rules. They start with fines, then threats. Last month they broke into my backyard shed. I reported it. Nothing happened." Marcus's jaw flexed. "So the police know?" "They know a little. But this firm is slippery. Shell companies, no paper trail, and the board covers for them." Angela whispered. "This is insane." Howard looked at Marcus. "Yesterday you embarrassed them. Those men you put down, they're small fish. But whoever's pulling the strings, they won't let it slide." Marcus crossed his arms. "Then they picked the wrong family." Howard gave a tired smile. "I said the same thing once. My wife begged me to drop it. We moved before things got worse." Marcus leaned forward. "Do you have names?" Howard pulled out a folded sheet of paper from his clipboard. "Best I could find. The company calls itself Sentinel Compliance Group. No website. Address leads to a P.O. box. But one of their managers, a guy named Craig Holbrook, is also vice president of the Oak Ridge HOA board." Angela's eyes widened. "The HOA itself is involved." Howard nodded. "Holbrook lives in the big white colonial at the end of Cedar Lane." Marcus memorized the name. "Thank you." Howard hesitated at the door. "Be careful. They've got friends in high places. And if you're who I think you are." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Who do you think I am?" Howard's eyes flicked to the tattoos on Marcus's forearm. The way he moved. "A man who's been trained for worse than this." Marcus didn't confirm or deny. "We'll handle it." When Howard left, Angela shut the door and turned to Marcus. "You're not seriously thinking?" "I'm thinking we need evidence," Marcus said. "Real evidence. Enough to bring the whole thing down." She grabbed his arm. "Marcus, you're not on a mission. This is our home." He softened his voice. "This is our home. And they invaded it. You and Mia deserve better." Angela stared at him for a long moment, then let go. "What do you need from me?" He almost smiled. "Just trust." That evening, Marcus parked his old sedan a block away from the white colonial on Cedar Lane. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. He changed into jeans and a hoodie, baseball cap low. In the passenger seat sat a small camera with a long lens, a gift from a buddy who did private investigations. Through the lens, he watched the house. Lights glowed inside. A man in his 50s with slick back hair, Craig Holbrook, no doubt, stood at a window, phone to his ear. In the driveway sat the same black SUV that had been parked near his own house that morning. Marcus snapped photos. Plates, faces, times, every detail. Across the street, a jogger slowed, glancing at Marcus's car. Marcus shifted slightly, making himself look like any other guy scrolling a phone. The jogger moved on. His earpiece buzzed. Angela's voice. "Everything okay?" "Fine," Marcus murmured. "Holbrook's home. SUV's here. Got the photos." "You're scaring me," she said softly. "I'll be back soon." He clicked off, eyes still on the house. Another man exited the front door, younger, buzz cut, one of the officers from yesterday. Free already. Marcus's stomach tightened. The man got into the SUV and drove off. Marcus followed at a distance, headlights off until the man turned onto the main road. He tailed him to a strip mall on the edge of town. The man parked behind an empty building. Another SUV was waiting. Two men got out, handed him a manila envelope. Quick handshake, quick glance around, then back into their cars. Marcus snapped more photos. His heart was steady, his hands sure. This was the kind of work he understood. Patterns, surveillance, patience. But under the control, there was a slow burn of anger. They'd hit Angela, they'd frightened Mia, and now they were planning something else. The man drove off again. Marcus stayed back, watching him disappear into traffic. He knew he had enough to go to the police, but a voice inside whispered it wasn't enough. Not yet. Not for these kinds of people. When he finally pulled into his driveway, the sky was dark. Angela met him at the door, worry etched on her face. Did you get what you needed? Some, Marcus said. Enough to know this is bigger than we thought. She glanced past him at the street. The SUV's gone. Good, Marcus said. That means they're moving. We need to move faster. Angela touched his arm. Please, just promise me you won't do anything reckless. He looked at her for a long time, then nodded once. I promise. But deep down, he wasn't sure he could keep that promise. Later that night, Marcus spread the photos across the kitchen table. Angela sat beside him, silent. Faces, plates, documents, a map of Oak Ridge with dots marking sightings. They're planning something, Marcus said. I can feel it. Angela shivered. What do we do? He gathered the photos into a neat stack. We prepare, and when they make their move, we'll be ready. Outside, a car door slammed. Marcus's head snapped up. He moved to the window, peering through the blinds. At the end of the street, the black SUV had returned. This time there were two of them. Angela's breath hitched. Marcus. He reached for the small lockbox in the hall closet. Inside was a pistol, legally owned but rarely touched. He checked the chamber, then set it on the counter, not to brandish, just to remind himself he wasn't helpless. They're escalating, he said quietly. So will we. The night air hung heavy and still, the kind of silence Marcus recognized from ambush zones overseas. Too quiet, like everything was holding its breath. Through the blinds, the two black SUVs sat at the end of the street, engines idling, dark shapes behind tinted glass. Their headlights stayed off, but faint glows inside told Marcus the men were watching, maybe filming. Angela hugged herself, standing near the kitchen island. Marcus, this isn't normal. It's like a movie. He loaded his phone with the photos he'd taken and sent them to a trusted contact from his Navy days, a former JG lawyer who now did investigative work. Need a trace. Fast. He hit send and slipped the phone into his pocket. They're trying to intimidate us, Marcus said. They want me off balance before they make a move. Angela's voice shook. Make a move? Marcus, we have Mia. She's sleeping upstairs. He took her hands. I won't let anything happen to her. Or you. Should we leave? Go to a hotel? Marcus considered it. If we run, they win. And if they're watching, they'll just follow. Better to stay where I know the terrain. Angela stared at him. You're treating our home like a battlefield. His jaw tightened. That's what they turned it into. Before she could answer, his phone buzzed. A message from his contact. Got something. Sentinel Compliance Group registered to Shell LLC tied to Holbrook and two state contractors. Smells dirty. Sending doc. A PDF followed. Contracts. Emails. Even a scan check. The security firm was paid off the books through HOA dues, with a bonus for enhanced enforcement against non-compliant households. Names redacted but obvious in context. It was a bounty system. Marcus's stomach dropped. They're being paid extra for harassing families like us. Angela's face went pale. This is systemic. Marcus nodded slowly. Now we have proof. Before he could say more, a loud crack echoed outside. The sound of something hitting their mailbox. Angela flinched. Marcus moved to the front door and opened it just enough to see. A brick lay on the ground, wrapped in paper. Their mailbox hung open, dented. He crouched, grabbed the brick, and unwrapped the paper. Scrawled in black marker. Leave or else. Angela's hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God. Marcus's eyes went cold. They're escalating, he murmured. Good. Angela gripped his arm. Good? Because now they're sloppy. Threats like this are evidence. He snapped a photo of the note and the brick, then bagged them both in a Ziploc from the kitchen. Years of training made him methodical, even under pressure. Headlights flared. One SUV peeled away, tires crunching over gravel. The other crept forward slowly, like a predator testing boundaries. Marcus stepped onto the porch, hands visible, posture loose but ready. The SUV rolled to a stop in front of the house. The passenger window slid down. Inside sat the heavyset man from before, Holbrook's enforcer, his nose bruised from Marcus's elbow days earlier. Next to him, the younger one, smirk gone, eyes hard. Nice night, the heavyset man called softly. Shame if something happened to it. Marcus didn't move. You're breaking the law. Again. You think your cop friends will save you? The younger one sneered. We are the law here. Marcus tilted his head. No. You're a couple of cowards in polo shirts playing cop. The heavyset man's jaw twitched. Last chance. Pack up. Leave Oak Ridge, or your little girl sees what happens to heroes who don't know when to quit. Marcus's face didn't change. You put my family in danger. That was your last chance. The heavyset man chuckled darkly. Big talk. Marcus took one slow step forward. Big difference, he said quietly, between a man who's trained and a man who's pretending. Something in his tone made both men glance at each other. The heavyset one shifted the SUV into gear, tires squealing as they sped off into the night. Marcus memorized the direction. He went back inside. Angela was trembling. Marcus, please go to the police now. Show them the threats, the contracts. I will, he said. But first, I'm going to make sure they can't spin this. We need to catch them in the act. Angela searched his face. You're planning something. He didn't deny it. They think they're the hunters. Let's flip it. The next day, Marcus called in a favor. His old teammate, Rico Torres, ran a security firm 2 towns over. By afternoon, Rico was at the Carter's house, a lean, wiry man with a veteran's eyes and a quiet smile. He carried a duffel bag. Long time, Rico said, clapping Marcus's shoulder. Heard you've got a problem. Marcus gestured to Angela. This is my wife. Angela, Rico. Rico nodded politely. We'll keep you safe, ma'am. Angela looked between them. You two talk like this is normal. It's not, Rico said. But some people mistake a uniform for power. We know better. He unzipped the duffel, revealing small security cameras, motion sensors, and a couple of body cams. We'll set these up. Catch them on tape. Marcus nodded. We'll need to bait them. Angela's breath caught. Bait them? Marcus met her eyes. They're coming anyway. Better on our terms. Rico worked quickly, installing cameras at corners of the house, hidden under eaves, inside porch lights. Angela watched nervously, arms wrapped around herself. This is crazy, she whispered. This is our home. It's still our home, Marcus said. We're just taking control back. When night fell, the house looked ordinary, lights glowing, Mia watching cartoons upstairs. But every approach was now covered by a lens feeding to Marcus's laptop. On the screen, a grid of live images showed their yard from multiple angles. At 11:42 p.m., a motion alert pinged. Marcus and Rico leaned in. On the screen, 2 figures crept toward the back fence, silhouettes with flashlights, wearing dark clothes. One carried a crowbar. They're back, Rico murmured. Angela's hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God. Marcus clicked record. His voice was calm. Stay with Mia, he told Angela. Lock the door. He and Rico moved silently to the back door, body cams clipped to their shirts. The night smelled of damp grass and gasoline from a nearby mower. Through the kitchen window, they could see the men lifting the latch on the gate. Marcus's heart rate slowed. Not sped up, slowed, the way it used to before a breach. He whispered, Ready? Rico nodded. Always. They waited until the men were halfway across the yard. Then Marcus flicked on the floodlight. The yard lit up like daylight. The 2 intruders froze, eyes wide. One was the younger enforcer, the other a new face, tall and gaunt, wearing a ski mask. Marcus stepped out the back door, Rico just behind him. "Evening," Marcus said softly. "Lose something?" The younger enforcer swore, turning to run. Rico moved faster, cutting off the gate. The gaunt man swung the crowbar. Marcus caught it mid-swing, twisting hard. The man yelped as the crowbar clattered to the grass. "You're trespassing," Marcus said, "and assaulting again. Get out of my way," the younger enforcer shouted, pulling something from his pocket. Maybe pepper spray, maybe worse. Marcus's hand shot out, disarming him with a practiced twist. "Body cam's on," he said. "Everything's recorded. You're done." The men bolted for the fence. Rico grabbed the younger one's shirt, yanking him back. Marcus moved with a precision that looked effortless, stepping between, pinning the gaunt man's arm, rolling him to the ground without a strike. The crowbar lay a foot away. The man gasped for air. Sirens wailed again in the distance. This time Marcus had called ahead, sending the station everything: photos, contracts, threats. The cops were coming with warrants. Angela appeared at the kitchen door, phone in hand. "They're almost here," she whispered. The younger enforcer thrashed. "You're dead, Carter. You don't know who you're messing with." Marcus leaned down, his face inches from the man's. "No, you don't." Floodlights illuminated the yard. The cruisers skidded to a stop. Officers poured out, weapons drawn, shouting commands. Marcus raised his hands slowly, Rico doing the same. "We're the homeowners," Marcus called. "They're the intruders. It's all on camera." The sergeant from yesterday stepped forward, eyes scanning the scene. "We've got it," she said. "Holbrook's under arrest. We have warrants for Sentinel." "You did good, Carter." Marcus exhaled, his muscles finally easing. The heavy-set man was nowhere in sight, but two of his soldiers were cuffed and shoved into cruisers. The sergeant's radio crackled with updates about simultaneous raids at other addresses. Angela came into the yard, trembling but upright. Marcus wrapped an arm around her shoulders. For the first time in days, she felt safe enough to breathe, but Marcus's eyes stayed on the street. Holbrook was still out there, and the heavy-set man hadn't shown his face tonight. This wasn't over. Not yet. The next morning smelled like rain and wet cedar. A mist hung over Oak Ridge's manicured lawns, softening the edges of the houses. Angela sat at the kitchen table, coffee going cold, scrolling through her phone. Headlines flashed across the screen. Fake HOA security firm under investigation. Black veterans family targeted in Oak Ridge harassment scheme. The story was already spreading. Someone had leaked the footage from Marcus's body cam. The comments below were a war zone. People outraged, some calling Marcus a hero, others spewing bile about troublemakers. Marcus came downstairs in a t-shirt, his phone pressed to his ear. "Yes, Sergeant. We'll be here." "Thank you." He hung up. "Detectives want us at the station at 2, he told Angela. "They're bringing Holbrook in." Angela's eyes flicked to Mia, playing quietly with blocks in the living room. "Is it safe for us to leave?" Marcus sat across from her. "I've got Rico watching the house. He'll stay here with Mia, just a few more hours." She touched his hand. "Last night you looked like a different person." He squeezed her fingers. "Last night I did what I had to. Today we make it stick." Angela nodded slowly. "I trust you. I just want this over." Marcus looked at her, at the way her shoulders curled inward. She was strong. He'd always admired that, but the constant fear was wearing her down. He needed a clean end to this. At the station, the air was cooler, humming with fluorescent lights. The detectives led them to a conference room where a laptop played the footage from Marcus's cameras. The intruders creeping through the yard, the threats on video, the crowbar glinting under floodlights. The sergeant who'd handled the raid stood at the front, arms crossed. "Holbrook's claiming Sentinel acted without his knowledge," she said flatly. "But we found invoices he signed, kickbacks from residents. It's ugly." "Is the heavyset one in custody?" Marcus asked. "Not yet." Name's Travis Kane, former private contractor. "We've got a bolo out." Marcus's jaw flexed. "He'll come back." "He's not done." Angela frowned. "Why would he risk it now?" "The police. Because predators double down when they're cornered," Marcus said quietly. The sergeant glanced between them. "We're increasing patrols, but off the record." She hesitated. "Be careful. Kane's got friends in places. We're still pulling at threads." Angela's stomach turned. "Friends? You mean?" The sergeant's eyes were grim. "I mean he's used to operating without consequences." They left the station under a sky gone steel gray, clouds thickening overhead. On the drive home, Angela stared out the window, her fingers twisting in her lap. "Marcus, what if this never ends?" He kept his eyes on the road. "It ends, one way or another." As they turned into Oak Ridge, Marcus noticed a dark sedan parked 3 houses down from theirs. Tinted windows, engine off. Not the same SUVs, but still out of place. He slowed slightly, scanning mirrors. Angela saw it too. "Is that them?" "Don't look," Marcus murmured. "We're almost home." Rico met them at the door, expression tight. "You weren't followed?" "Maybe." Marcus nodded toward the street. Sedan 3 houses down. Rico peeked through the blinds. "Yeah, they've been sitting there 20 minutes. Different plates, but same vibe." Angela's pulse thudded in her ears. "What do they want?" "We already went to the police." Rico zipped up his jacket. "They want to scare you into silence. Or worse." Marcus's voice was low. "They don't understand. Fear only works if you give it back." He pulled a small case from the hall closet and set it on the counter. Angela's eyes widened. Inside lay a compact camera rig, 2-way radios, and a slim folder. "Not weapons. Intel tools." "You're planning something," she said softly. Marcus met her eyes. "We need the last piece. Holbrook's phone records, Kane's link to the payments. Without that, the DA calls this overzealous security, and everyone walks." Rico nodded. "I can run a sting. Get them talking." Angela's voice rose. "A sting?" "Marcus, no. You're not a cop." "No," he said. "I'm a husband whose wife was assaulted, and a father who won't live under threat." Angela took a step closer, her voice breaking. "We survived war zones, deployments, everything. Just come home to me, Marcus. Don't go back out there." He cupped her face. "I'm not going out there. I'm bringing them in." That night, they staged their bait. Rico parked his truck at the end of the street, antennas hidden under a tarp. Marcus placed a for sale sign in the yard, deliberately crooked, an invitation to prowlers. In the living room, Angela sat with Mia, the glow of a Disney movie flickering on their faces. Every window was latched. Every camera fed into Marcus's laptop. Rain began to fall, soft at first, then heavier, drumming on the roof. The smell of wet earth filled the house. Lightning flickered far off. At 11:03 p.m., a ping. Motion at the corner. Marcus leaned over the laptop. Through the grainy night vision, 2 figures approached. The heavy-set man, Kane, and another, smaller man in a raincoat. Kane carried a tablet. The smaller man held what looked like a lockpick set. "They're here," Marcus whispered. Rico's voice crackled over the radio from his truck. Copy got audio rolling. Marcus grabbed his own radio. "You're clear?" "Eyes on them. Just say when." On the screen, Kane crouched near the porch, pulling something from his pocket. The audio mic picked up his muttered words. "This one's done. Holbrook's out. We clean up, get the files, disappear." The smaller man whispered back. "Police are sniffing." "You sure?" "Positive." Kane growled. "No evidence, no case." Marcus's heart thudded. There it is, the confession. He pressed the transmit button. "Rico, mark that. Call it in." Rico's voice. Already undispatched units rolling, but Kane straightened suddenly, looking up at the window where Marcus sat. Even through the rain and darkness, their eyes met. Kane grinned. A wolf's grin. "He sees me," Marcus whispered. Kane pointed toward the door, said something to the smaller man. They started up the steps. Angela appeared at Marcus's shoulder, pale. "Marcus, upstairs. Lock the door." His voice was steel. "Now." She scooped Mia up, bolting up the stairs. Marcus rose, moving to the foyer. He could hear the men's boots on the porch boards. The smell of rain blew in through the mail slot. The doorbell rang once, long and mocking. "Carter," Kane's voice boomed. "Come on out. We just want to talk." Marcus stayed silent. Another voice, the smaller man's, nervous. "We shouldn't be here, man." "Shut up," Kane hissed. "We finished this." He jiggled the handle. The deadbolt held. Kane laughed low. "Lock your door all you want. We're still coming in." Marcus glanced at the laptop. Red and blue lights glimmered at the end of the street, faint but growing. "Almost here," he muttered. But Kane was already pulling something from his jacket, a metal cylinder with a rubber handle. He raised it high. Marcus realized what it was an instant before impact. Battering ram. The first hit shook the door. The second splintered the frame. Rain gusted in. Marcus reached for the closet, where his navy duffel lay. Not a gun, but a heavy-duty tactical flashlight and a collapsible baton. Tools, not weapons. Third hit. The door cracked wide. Kane's grin filled the gap, and Marcus stepped forward, every movement calm, ready. "You picked the wrong house," he said quietly. The third blow ripped the door jamb clean. Rain gusted into the foyer, cold against Marcus's bare arms. The smell of splintered wood and wet asphalt filled his nose. He could see Kane's face now. Grizzled jaw, scar at the temple, eyes glittering with rage. Beside him, the smaller man hesitated, glancing back at the flashing blue lights just starting to bloom at the end of the street. Marcus planted his feet on the hardwood floor. His voice was low, steady, the way he'd spoken to his squad before a breach. "Turn around, Kane. This is your last chance." Kane sneered. "You don't give me chances, boy. I take what I want." He shoved the door open and stepped inside, rain dripping from his jacket. The smaller man hovered in the doorway, pale and trembling. "Kane, cops are coming." Kane snapped, "Move," and pushed him in too. The door banged against the wall, water pooling on the entry rug. Marcus's fingers tightened around the baton in his hand. It was collapsed, but with a flick it would extend. It also held the tactical flashlight, a beam so bright it could blind. "You break into my house, threaten my wife and kid," Marcus said softly. "Now you're standing in my kill zone." Kane laughed, but there was a flicker of unease in his eyes. "You think you're still in the Navy? This is real life." "Exactly," Marcus said. He flicked the flashlight on. A blinding white cone flooded the foyer, directly into Kane's eyes. The man swore and threw up an arm. Marcus moved then, silent, precise. One step, two, pivot. The baton snapped open with a metallic crack. He brought it down on Kane's forearm, knocking the ram from his grip. It clattered to the tile. Kane lunged blindly, swinging a heavy fist. Marcus slipped aside, letting the blow glance past his shoulder, and struck again, an arc to Kane's ribs. Kane grunted, stumbling back against the wall. The smaller man yelped and raised his hands. "I don't want any part of this," the smaller man cried. "Then get on the ground," Marcus barked. "Hands where I can see." The man dropped, sprawling on the wet floor, palms open. Kane roared and charged again. Marcus caught him in a clinch, their boots sliding on the rain-slick wood. Kane was strong, thick muscle under the jacket, but he fought wild, fueled by anger. Marcus fought like water, each motion efficient, flowing into the next. He shifted his weight, pivoted, and used Kane's momentum to slam him against the wall. The pictures on the hallway trembled. Upstairs, Mia cried out. Angela's voice called, "Marcus, I've got it," he shouted back. Kane grabbed for Marcus's throat. Marcus jammed an elbow into his sternum, breaking the grip, then swept his leg low, taking Kane off balance. They crashed to the floor, rolling. The smell of Kane's sweat and rain and stale cigarettes filled Marcus's nose. Kane snarled, "You're dead, Carter. You hear me?" Marcus drove a shoulder into Kane's chest, pinning him. "Not tonight." He snapped the baton against Kane's wrist. The man's hand opened involuntarily. Marcus pressed the flashlight beam right into his eyes. Kane squinted, cursing, blinded. Outside, sirens screamed closer. Tires screeched. Car doors slammed. Officers shouted commands, their voices muffled through the storm. Angela's footsteps pounded the stairs. She clutched her phone, her face pale but fierce. "Police are here." Marcus leaned close to Kane's ear. "It's over," Kane spat. "Never over." Holbrook Scott. But before he could finish, Marcus shifted his weight and rolled, flipping Kane face down, pinning his arms behind his back in a joint lock. Kane roared, but his body betrayed him. The leverage was absolute. "Hands behind your back," Marcus barked. "Now," Kane growled but complied, if only to relieve the pressure on his shoulder. Marcus yanked the zip ties from his pocket. Rico had given him a few, and cinched them around Kane's wrists. The front door burst open. 3 uniformed officers rushed in, weapons raised. "Hands up, everyone down." Marcus lifted his hands slowly, stepping back from Kane. "Homeowner," he said clearly. Suspects restrained, smaller men's on the ground. The officers moved fast, cuffing Kane properly, then hauling the smaller man to his feet. Kane twisted, trying to look at Marcus even as they dragged him out. "You think you won? You don't know who you're messing with." Marcus stood tall, breathing hard but steady. "Yeah," he said. "I do." The sergeant from before entered, rain dripping off her cap. She surveyed the scene, the splinter door, the puddles, Marcus standing over the chaos. She nodded once. "We've got him. And Holbrook's already in custody. Your evidence sealed the warrants." Angela came down the stairs, clutching Mia. Tears streaked her cheeks, but her voice was steady. "It's over?" The sergeant glanced at Marcus. "It's over for them." Marcus exhaled slowly, adrenaline draining. He walked to Angela and wrapped an arm around her and Mia. The little girl buried her face in his chest. He kissed her hair. "We're safe now," he whispered. Rico appeared at the doorway, soaked from the rain but grinning. "Whole thing's on camera," he said. "Confession and all. DA's gonna eat it up." Marcus nodded. "Eyes still on the flashing lights outside." "Good," Kane shouted as they shoved him into the cruiser. "You're finished, Carter. You hear me? Finished." But the wind and rain swallowed his voice. An hour later, the house was quieter. The police had gone, leaving behind a card for the repair service and promises of round-the-clock patrols. Rico stayed to help board up the door. Angela made tea, her hands finally steady. Mia had fallen asleep on the couch, worn out from the fear. Marcus stood at the window, watching the last cruiser pull away. The neighborhood glistened under streetlights, rain still dripping from gutters. The black sedan was gone. Kane was in custody. Holbrook was facing charges. The Sentinel contract was a stack of evidence. Angela came to stand beside him. "It's really over, isn't it?" He slid an arm around her shoulders. "The worst part is over. Now it's just process." She leaned into him, exhaling. "You were incredible, Marcus." "I was terrified." "I was too," he said quietly. "But training doesn't care about fear." She looked up at him. "You always say you left the Navy behind. But tonight I remembered why I left," he said. "So I could build a home, a safe place. They tried to take that. They failed." Angela pressed her forehead to his chest. "We're still here. We're still here," he echoed. Rico came in from the porch, wiping his hands. "Doors secure for the night. I'll crash here if you don't mind." "Just to be safe," Marcus nodded. "Thanks, brother." Rico grinned. "You do the same." They clasped hands. Veterans grip. Firm, quiet, unspoken respect. In the stillness that followed, Marcus went upstairs to check on Mia. She slept curled under her blanket, thumb near her mouth, her small chest rising and falling. He sat at the edge of the bed, brushing a damp curl from her forehead. "Daddy's here," he murmured. "It's all right now." He stayed there for a long moment, the storm outside softening to a drizzle, the smell of rain drifting through the cracked window. For the first time in days, his body eased. Downstairs, Angela and Rico talked quietly. The news cycle was already buzzing. Marcus knew there would be interviews, statements, maybe even threats online. But in this moment, this quiet, wet, post-storm moment, his family was safe. And Kane, for all his bravado, was behind bars. Marcus rose, pulling the blanket snug around Mia. As he left the room, he glanced back once more. She stirred, eyes blinking open. "Daddy?" She mumbled sleepily. "I'm here, baby," he said softly. "Go back to sleep." She smiled faintly and closed her eyes again. Marcus shut the door gently. The sound of rain his only companion in the hallway, but deep in his gut, Marcus knew this wasn't the end of the story. Kane's words echoed. Holbrook Scott. What? What else had been planned? How deep did this go? He walked back downstairs, his mind already moving ahead. The battle had been won, but the war for dignity, for safety, for justice, that was still being fought in neighborhoods just like Oak Ridge all across the country. Tonight, though, Marcus Carter had sent a message, and the world was watching. The flashing blue and red lights reflected off every window on Maple Lane. Neighbors who had been peeking from behind curtains now spilled onto porches, phones still in their hands. The street smelled faintly of gasoline and pine needles, mixed with the metallic tang of adrenaline in the cool night air. Jordan's knuckles throbbed. Even though his Navy SEAL instincts had made his movements precise, his body still knew what he'd done. His chest rose and fell like a piston as he stood there, broad-shouldered, calm but charged. Angela, his wife, was sitting upright now, a blanket draped over her shoulders by a neighbor. She had stopped shaking, though her eyes darted between the two fake cops sprawled on the lawn and the approaching real officers. She caught Jordan's eye and gave a tiny nod, equal parts gratitude and disbelief. One of the neighbors, an older black man named Mr. Harmon who had lived there for decades, stepped forward. "I've been telling folks about these so-called HOA enforcers," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. Nobody listened. Tonight, everyone saw. Jordan placed a hand on Harmon's shoulder. "You're safe now," he said softly. Two uniformed county deputies arrived first, guns holstered but hands hovering near them. They took in the scene. The fake HOA SUV with its illegal strobe lights. The two men groaning on the ground. Angela's bruised cheek. "What the hell happened here?" one of them asked. Jordan spoke evenly, his tone measured but carrying weight. "These two men impersonated police officers. They assaulted my wife on our property. I restrained them until you arrived. Check their IDs. Check the vehicle." The deputy's partner bent to search the men. Sure enough, their badges were cheap replicas, their IDs clearly forged. Inside the SUV were fake ticket books,